Your Oregon State Beavers got a game on Saturday night down at Reser Stadium. You got former conference foe, the Cal Golden Bears, coming to town, and joining us now to talk about that. A longtime voice of the program and great friend of our program, Mike Doc Parker, MEP OSU on Twitter. Go give him a follow. Doc, good morning to you. How excited? Football's back, baby. How we feeling?
Well, I'm feeling good, guys, and it's good to be back on with you. Andy, thank you for saying the word program that way because, it's interesting. There's a movie called, I think, or whatever, the program is how I've always said it. Well, he's got a good program. Yeah, they're building a good program there. But you hear different iterations of it, and you hear people say program. Former Beaver coach Jerry Pettibone was very fond of saying, well, we're building a program here, and I've always thought, is it G-R-U-M? I always thought it was G-R-A-M. But so it was nice to hear you roll out a program. It feels like college football is indeed back.
Well, and it'll feel back more when we hear you calling play-by-play this weekend. It's going to be a late kick, but it's a familiar team, a coach that they understand, and they know what he wants to do. I know it's new talent, new identity, but in a way, it's kind of the same thing. I think the Houston game is their swing game for their entire season from a win-loss perspective. But talk about setting a tone because of how difficult the first 4 weeks are and how important this one is for Trent Bray year two, Malik Murphy in, Ryan Gunderson with a quarterback that can, maybe throw the football, just setting the tone this weekend at home.
It's a giant game for both programs, guys. It really is. I mean, for Justin Wilcox, it's huge for Justin coming back to his home state and just right down the road in Junction City, his 9th year. He hasn't had a winning record in conference play, either in the old Pac-12 or in the first year in the ACC. This is a big season for Justin. And while they were gutted by the portal and losing a lot of really key and good players, they've rebuilt it better than I think. People kind of from the outside are saying things like, oh, Cal's in a mess. They're in a dire situation. I think this personnel group is still pretty good. And Brian Harsin now calling the offense. Justin with a couple of co-defensive coordinators, but it's his defense, and he's always been good on defense. I think this is a huge game for him, certainly, but thus the challenge level, the threat level. The Beavers are favored. Yes, they should be. I think they're going to win. But the Beavers themselves, as you guys well know, and Brandon, you well know, there are question marks that, I think we're going to see some answers come fairly early. How will that offensive line, still waiting on some reinforcements to come back from injury? How are they going to hold up? How good is Malik Murphy? The receiving corps took a hit with the Darius Clemens loss. I think the Beavers are going to be good on offense and much better. You used, I think, you said Ryan Gunderson, Andy. I think you said he's got a quarterback that maybe can throw the ball. Even phrasing it that way gives you a sense what the Beavers were up against last year. They're far improved in every phase of the passing game this year, no question about it. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays with, I think, good running backs, but question marks at the offensive line and the receiving corps. Beyond Trent Walker and his 81 and 900 plus, they're going to need somebody else out there too. I think the tight ends will be featured more prominently in the pass game with Caulfield and Riley Williams. I think we'll see Hankerson as a running back perhaps be involved a little bit more in the passing game than last year to maybe work around, okay, where are we in the wide receiver room? But I'm very curious about Saturday night. It's a late game. I think it's a huge game for both teams. The weather will be great. It should be a tremendous atmosphere at Reser.
Yeah, I think looking at their offense this year, Doc, we're talking with Mike Parker, voice of Oregon State football, very long-time friend of the program here. We know the floor will be raised offensively. I think that's the fun part for them this year. It's like we don't know what the ceiling is. And that's kind of the interesting part about a lot of these teams going into the year. All of these coaches, and we deal with this in Eugene as well, we treat like watching practice or getting tidbits like it's Area 51 and you can't get any sort of access. And I heard a press conference of Bray the other day. I think Kerry Eggers asked him, strengths and weaknesses of your defense. He's like, I'm not answering that question. So as somebody who's been around, we don't need the trade secrets here, Doc. I don't need the blueprint. I'm just curious, what has stood out as you've been around this team in the fall, things that have surprised you, look good, players that have looked good. I'm just curious from the inside scoop from Doc Parker.
Yeah, the interesting thing on that, though, and I was there, too, and heard that somewhat terse, evasive reply by Trent, but part of that isn't so much being kind of a, whatever term you want to use, towards the media, as much as Trent's a pretty straightforward, honest guy who couldn't figure out, in that sense, on his feet in that moment, a way to deal with an answer like that diplomatically. Well, we got experience here, and he heard a question, strengths and weaknesses, and just quickly said, "Well, I'm not going to give that up," meaning that he couldn't really answer it evasively other than to say, "No, I'm not going to answer it,"
right.
Because if he tried to just talk around strengths and weaknesses, he would do so because he's a straightforward kind of guy and would thus reveal things, and he didn't want to do it, and he's right not to do it. So it was a strange moment, but I think in the end we all sort of understand why. But if we're talking about strengths, the number one strength for me is Trent getting his hands back on the defense and calling the defense. And, Coach, I would say that the inside linebacking core of Dexter Foster, Rayshawn Davis as the starters, that the strength of the defense in here is in those positions and the improvement on the edge with Ty Wallen, Nico Taylor. I'm expecting them to be able to affect Jaron Tiave Sangapolu-Tele. Now, I'm glad they said that you can call him JKS going forward, but that's
well done, Doc. Well done.
Thank you. I hear you, the ovation in the background, and I appreciate it. It's not an easy one, but I've been working on it. But Jaron, starting as a true freshman for this game, strengths and weaknesses. I think, again, we've talked about offense. The strength of the team, to me, is on the defensive side with improvement in the interior line, the improvement on the edges. I think a really strong secondary, strong on the back end. I think the defense is going to be so much better that's just going to be like a revelation, like it was. I don't know if you remember, Brandon, you might, the 2012 game against Wisconsin at home after Russell
ugly.
Wilson. No, the 2011 game was ugly in Madison.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson beat them. I remember Jim Wilson at the end of the game when he said something to the effect of, "Doc," surprisingly we're calling, but he said, "Doc, next year Russell Wilson won't be coming to Corvallis. The Beavers will have a chance in that game."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first play from scrimmage, there was a toss sweep to the Wisconsin back, Monty Ball, maybe.
Monty Ball.
Yeah, and he's tackled for a loss of about 3 or 4 yards on the first play of the game. And, I'm standing there in the press box at Reeser, and my hand just went up in the air and said, "Jim, you were right last year in Madison. This is different." That was the first play of the game. And the Beavers go on to win and just shut down that Wisconsin team all day. Now, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look Saturday night on the first play, but I'm expecting a lot of plays like that. So the strength of the team, to me, is on the defensive side with tremendous improvement at the quarterback position. Another strength of the offense, the running game with Hankerson and improved Salah Allah and some other backs in that stable that I think will be featured. But the quarterback is a strength. The running game's a strength. And I think that just Trent's overall defense, particularly on the inside backer position, a true strength of this club.
Look, sometimes, Doc, our memories can get a little hazy in how we remember things. I don't know what year it was, but when Cal came to Corvallis, it was one of Jonathan's first couple seasons, and they just absolutely unloaded. And I will never forget listening to you call a play, and you were like, and the quarterback for Oregon State, I forget who it was, drops back. Dead silence for maybe what felt like 5 seconds, and you just went, "Touchdown, Cal." And it was a pick six call, and you were so done at that point. And so I'm always going to remember Cal, Doc Parker, and so we'll see what they do. But I do want to ask you, when you talk about memories, I know they had some good offensive line years under Jonathan. This year, though, I have you having a coffee in hand, walking to the practice facility, seeing the team on the field, and hearing this.
"Get the out of here."
And thinking, Fall's back. Mike Kavanaugh's returned. What's it been like to talk to Cav, catch up with him, and what do you think the expectations really are with that offensive line and the running attack?
It's a great question. It is, to me, that's when you talk about strengths and weaknesses. I'm not going to call the offensive line a weakness. I'd call it a question mark. The biggest for me is that position group right now. How will they perform under the lights Saturday night? They're not as formidable as some of Cavs' lines. That guys go on to the NFL, and when the Beavers were having the best run of the modern era between 2006 and 2009, 4 straight seasons where they were really good. in all phases and up front and sacking the quarterback with Mark Banker's defense. Those were the best. That was the best run, 4-year run, 06 to 09, when they were in the hunt for the conference title and all of that. Mike Cavanaugh was the O-line coach then and one of the best in the business and still is. That's been the great thing. When Mike was announced after Mahalchik, Mahalchik, then Kyle DeVanlees, I was pretty nervous. Oh, what are we going to do in that, that vital position, from a coaching standpoint? And when I heard Cav was coming back, I was immediately thrilled by it. But then I thought, can the guy, does he still have the fire in the belly? Well, yes, he does. And he's been getting after him. And Ryan Gunderson, the O coordinator, has told me that it's just been Cav's going to get the absolute most and best out of the group that he has. There's still some guys coming back from a health standpoint that will improve it, but Cav knows how to scheme. He just knows how to get the most out of his players. So I'm a little nervous about it. I don't know how good overall the group's going to be, but it'll get better as the season goes. But they need to be pretty good against a good Cal defense Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's good right there.
That is right there. That's great to hear from him, isn't it? We've actually been, we'll let you go on this, Doc. We've been thinking about you for a while up here because we, about a month ago or a little over a month ago, the Fan is now on FM in Portland. It's a glorious day here on the Fan, and you were one of the long-standing legacy employees in Fan history.
OG voices. One
of the OG voices way back in the day. And every time we talked about the history of the station and favorite moments and hosts, your name always gets brought up, from people who listened back then. And so we've been thinking about you now that the Fan's on FM. It's great to talk to you because it means college football is here. Can't wait to hear you on the call on Saturday night. Thank you as always, and happy college football season, Doc.
Hey, it is so good to be back. I look forward to seeing you live and visiting with you as the season goes. And congratulations on being on FM. We've had the conversation about for a while when the handle was first given in the early 90s. Look, guys, we're no longer 1520, the KFXX. We're now the Fan, and you can't say it enough. And I remember when I was told you can't say it enough. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to try. So everything became. Well, it's great to be with you on the Fan. Now, coming up on the Fan today, we're going to have so-and-so on the Fan. And then tomorrow on the Fan, we're going to have, and then Thursday on the Fan, we're going to bring in, Dr. Jack Ramsey will be on the Fan. We'll visit with him on the Fan. So I tried the best that I could my boss said, you can't say it enough. Okay, well, listen to this. And I tried. He did say, you can tone it down a little. But because of that, ever since, everything's been on the Fan. And I still, Roberto Nelson and our basketball coaching staff on the men's side, he sees me and says, Mike, how's it going on the Fan? That type of thing. So I'm glad the legacy of On the Fan is still alive and well, and it is in Corvallis, I can assure you.
I had my 9-year-old Doc. I had my 9-year-old finish a chocolate milk, and she pounded it and said, "On the Fan."
There you go. We love talking to you on the Fan.
Proud moment. Love you guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon, I hope.
There you go. Mike Doc Parker, longtime voice of the Beavs, one of my favorites. Getting ready to call another season of Oregon State football, which begins Saturday night against Cal.
Hog him up, Sikorsky.
Kavanaugh's back in town. Gunderson's got a quarterback that can throw the football this year, and they got a chance to start 1-0. Fun game Saturday night.